back at the Porsche. I've left it for a couple of days. It's Saturday now, and last time I worked on it was on Thursday afternoon. On Thursday last week, you might remember I ground down any of the sort of the rust spots here and applied the Hammerite, what's it called, rust inhibitor or something? It's probably in German here, but it's called Rostumwandler, which means rust converter is what it is in English. Anyway, that seems to have worked pretty well. It's turned everything black like it should. I'm now going to put some red oxide on there and paint that over, and over on the other side as well. So that's worked out pretty well. I think I might actually buy some grey stone chip to this. This used to be a lighter shade of grey, but it's sort of got quite sort of dark over the years. But when you clean it up with meths or something, it comes up quite grey. So I've got some normal grey undercoat. I'll decide later whether I put just undercoat on or stone chip, because actually the stone chip, by the looks of it, that's not stone chip there. It just goes to here. So from the factory there was only a little bit of stone chip, or what do you call, what's stone chip? It's called, underbody coating or whatever it's called. I think stone chip is the common word for it. But anyway, so pleased with that. I'm going to get the red oxide on there next and let that dry off. Haven't got much time to work on the car today, maybe 2 to 3 hours. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. Otherwise, I ordered for the only bolt that's become a problem now, which is the one I drilled out on that side. The one I drilled out on this side was absolutely fine. Worked perfectly. The one on the other side, I've ordered a Wuerth Time-Sert, it's called, which I spoke to a Porsche specialist in the UK that I know, Steve at Goshall Classics. He's really helpful. In fact, he helped me buy this car, and he said use Time-Sert. That's what he'd be using if one of the threads was knackered on a engine block. So I've ordered that. It's quite expensive. It's almost £200. That's just for an M8 solution. Which will go, well, you can't really see it in here, but in one of those M8 holes there, and that's coming on Monday, so I'll do that at some point next week or even next weekend. But yeah, slowly, it's ended up being a really big job, as you can imagine. But otherwise, I've ordered a whole bunch of stuff. I've ordered I thought I'd try a low temperature thermostat, so I think the standard on this is 83 degrees. In fact, I can show you exactly what it is because I've got it in here. Hang on 2 seconds. So this is, let's get it in the light, 83 degrees. So that's a standard Porsche part, 83 degrees. And that was installed, I don't know when it was installed, but the date on there is 2012. So April 2012, April. So I'm guessing it's probably about time to change it. On top of it, I'll show you in a minute what I've got, but I thought while I've got the coolant drained, I'll do a whole bunch of other stuff like new water hoses at the back. You can see this one in particular is becoming pretty porous. You can see it's just knackered. I think it's original. It's not letting anything through, but this one as well, they're just very old. And the ones under there too, the ones that go on the end of this thing here, that go to the sort of the middle of the car before they join up with the solid lines. I'm going to replace those too. So I've got the thermostat, new thermostat housing and seal. Like I said, new hoses. In fact, I went over to Porsche this morning. I ordered the bits overnight from yesterday and got them today, which was really good. I'll show you those in a minute. But yeah, I'm going to get those fitted as well. Okay, so I've got the red oxide on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it when I undercoat it, just to give it a straight line across there. I'll probably tape it up to here, or maybe just a bit below that line. But I've got it both sides. I mean, I've gone way over all of the points, you know, just to make it sort of a continuous section of red oxide. I've done it all the way along here as well, and not all of the other side, but most of the other side there, because the rest didn't actually need doing. So that's that done. I'll let that go off. Oh, I've done bits up there as well, where it started to bubble up a little bit. The rest that you can see up there is just dirt, and I've done them around the, just quite roughly at the moment, around the studs here. But otherwise, I've just been getting the old bolts out of these brackets. They're still, that one's still very hot, but that one's cooled down a bit. They're basically stainless steel, so I'll reuse those again. I've got new stainless steel M8 bolts for those. I'll also do the same with this. I've covered this in rust converter as well. I mean, ideally you'd do everything new, but I think with these they're quite. I put well, they're obviously not here, but I put new Porsche brackets on the exhausts 2 years ago, and they've already started to rust. So I'm thinking, if they rust that quickly, I'll get my well, not money's worth out of these, but just try and use them, clean them up, and use them again. Because they're perfectly usable. What I'll probably do is run the angle grinder over this edge just to tidy that up, and reuse them for now. I'll clean them up as well. Whoops. But they're about £30 each, I think. They're 25, so you do that plus the VAT, and it's quite a lot that comes together if you're just doing it on a whim, really, because those are perfectly usable. Okay, so time flies and I've got to go already, but I did a quick video of just sort of tidying up this catalytic converter before with the angle grinder, but I didn't spend as much time as I did on this one as I did on the other one, because I thought I'd use the rust converter this time. I wish I had actually had that rust converter when I did the other one, but there we are. On the other one I ground off all of the rust, so it was really shiny, cleaned it up, and then sprayed it with the exhaust extreme heat paint. I'll do exactly the same with this one, but obviously I'll leave it overnight now to cure the rust. But you can really see how this stuff, when it goes on, how much rust is actually on that thing, because it just turns all the rust black. So virtually the whole thing, if you look at it from over here, is black now. So I'll let that cure overnight and come back in the morning and paint that. The other thing I did just now was one of the studs, one of the original studs, which are rock solid, really strong steel, pressed into these lugs here, or these holes. I drilled that out using an 8.5mm bit, which actually matches all the rest. I mated it up to the manifold that I've got at the back there, and it fits perfectly. So I did that. I can't quite remember whether I need to do the same thing on the other one. I think there was the stud broken off in both of them, so that's got that. It's just one small step further. Obviously the paint is drying on there. I didn't get to show you all of these today. These are all the parts that I bought. You can see some Porsche parts sticking out the top there, but these are all the hoses and stuff. I'll show you those in a video tomorrow. Okay, so back at the car this morning, and I'm going to start by painting that catalytic converter, masking it up obviously, and then painting that. And then I think I'm going to move on to cleaning the engine up with some of the Dremel fixtures I've got, and then these as well. And then maybe the brackets that go on the side of the engine, clean those up and paint those. Okay, evening guys. So I've just popped up after work on, what is it today, Monday evening. I've been on holiday for a couple of weeks, and it's first day back at work today. But as you can see behind me, the workshop is just a massive mess. and I've been working in the workshop in this sort of state for a couple of days, well, 3 or 4 days actually, and it just is, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. It makes the work really difficult to do, and it's very unorganised. So I am going to clear up the workshop this evening. That is the main goal. I haven't got long, maybe got an hour or so. I'm not going to do any work on the car, but I'm just going to tidy up. Okay, so I've been cleaning for about an hour or so, hoovered as well, and I basically put everything away. It's a bit counterproductive because when you're working with all your tools around you, you sort of know in the chaos where everything is. But I put everything away. It's the best way. I know where they are in the boxes as well, where they all belong in the places around here. I've done the other catalytic converter there. All I've got to do is clean up the O2 sensors, which I've done on the other one, so that's good. These are actually the new brackets, new in inverted commas, they're used, but they are really expensive and quite difficult to find used. So I got quite a good used second-hand pair, which were about 250 quid. And I've put some rust blocker on there, or rust converter, which has first of all made them look pretty ugly. I'm in two minds at the moment whether I'm going to spray those with zinc spray or not. I hate using zinc spray, but if it protects it a little bit, then I will. Maybe I'll just do these sort of raw steel end parts here in zinc, top and bottom, and that'll help save them for a little bit. But that's that. I've got my new parts over there. I've actually, as I say, done some hoovering. Ordered everything, all the bits that I've got lying around. I know what all the parts are for. I've got, for some of these really bad ones here, I'm missing actually one of those bolts. Don't know where that one is, but it doesn't matter. I've got some new ones. This is the exhaust bracket, which I retapped with bigger M10 bolts. It looks a bit mucky at the moment because I've painted it again with the rust converter, but I'm going to reuse that. These parts aren't that expensive, but as I say, on a job which is costing me so far hundreds and hundreds of pounds, I'm a bit embarrassed to say how much it is, and that's using a mix of new and old parts, reusing the parts that were on the car as much as possible. So things like that I can reuse. New heat shield that I put on a couple of years ago, but I've got the new one for the other side. I've got all of the bolts here which I've got to cut down because these are M8 by 30 millimeters, but the bolts that go into the cylinder head are M8 by 28 millimeters. So I've got to cut them down by 2 millimeters, but that's fine. I'll do that. I've replaced a lot of these quick nuts here. And that's about it. I've got stuff for the Land Rover still there. That's the thermostat, which I am replacing. It's coming in the post this week. And yeah, other than that, it's looking pretty tidy. But I'm really quite looking forward to getting it done. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of work, as you all know. And yeah, just tidying things up, I think, makes it a little bit easier to work in this space, and hopefully gets it one step closer to getting it done.